clapping around. Big love. Hello. Thank you for being in the round table. Thank you. Your hands are up and I'm not even hitting them. That's stupid. How are you? Guys, I love this. Don't you love this? Because it's intimate and you get to talk, and I really hope you've got some questions.
I wrote some down.
You did? So what I'm going to do first is ask everyone's names.
Are you going to remember them?
No. Okay. I have dementia. I'm being Liz for this half hour. Forgive me, but I will. Okay, what's your name?
Mark.
Mark, lovely to meet you.
From Seattle.
Seattle.
Jennifer.
I remember you, Jennifer, yes?
Alicia.
Alicia, lovely. Christina. Jacqueline. Yvette. Jessica. Shelby.
Rachel.
Mandy. I remember Mandy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So lovely to meet you all. Really lovely to meet you all. So maybe I can ask a question. Sure.
We're here to see you.
What's that music? What's the music for? It's just kind of, I suddenly thought someone's phone was going. Oh, we got a little bit of a... Sorry, darling. Do we need music? Does it bother anyone else? It's sort of like a background. Yeah, probably a little lower. Anyway, all good. I was going to ask you guys, so what do you think is going to happen next? It's a random question. So taking you out of what has existed, what do you predict?
I think Will's going to die. I think he's going down. I don't think he'll make it to the end.
Wow.
I feel like at this point, like...
That's interesting.
I don't know.
Do you have,
not that I want him to.
No,
No,
I actually don't, because I'm not
okay.
in it. I have no idea. And they're really good with confidentiality. I'm great mates with Jackie Brennan, who plays Linda Miles, dear friends with Katrina, who plays Boomer, and great friends with Kate Atkinson, who's Vera. But when it comes to talking about what's going on, it's like they just have to, because it's a confidentiality thing. So that's interesting. Anyone else?
I think Allie steps up.
Allie steps up?
I
Okay. Yeah.
She has it in her.
I think she'll find it
I
in
think
herself.
after taking
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
and
Yeah, after everything she's gone through, because remember what happened to her at the end of 7?
yes,
Because she sort of stood there and blew that guy away.
she grew some balls.
She did. That's an Australian saying. Do you say that as well?
I have watched so much Australian TV, I'm just picking up
You're
all
getting
kinds.
nice and bold. What do you please start asking questions?
Can I ask, when did you find out that the freak was coming back when we found out, or were you given
No,
a
we
heads up
knew.
before?
When did we know?
I don't mean to talk about another character. but-
No, that's all right.
So-
No, don't be silly. No, I think we found out. Oh God, that's a good. I can't remember, but we knew. We
knew
definitely
before
knew
us.
before we filmed the end. Yeah. So again, you've got to be like, no gossip. No words can slip away.
Sign a contract and all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sadly, you look like you got a question. You had a question, honey?
No, but I have something to say.
What have you got to say? Bring it on. That's what we're here for.
When you pushed Boomer's mom and took care of her, oh, that meant so much to me. 'Cause she's so much like my mom, and I was like, get the shit out of her. I was like, yeah. And it was just really awesome. And
Thank you.
just like throughout the show, you've really been the hero, the person that steps up. And you know, you make the mistake by going back and drinking, but that character was just so real. Like, you know, you make mistakes, and then you come back and you say, well, you know, I lied.
Yep.
I mean, my beating. And
That's right. Get on with it. Yeah. Thank you.
So I really loved your character.
Well, you know, I think that's exactly what I would, you know, think about her as well. That I think she was the every woman in terms of the show, because she was probably the least violent. She was probably the least damaged. And she, even though the stuff with her children wasn't great, she had children, she'd had love in her life, and she'd had, whereas some of the other characters had really struggled for a long time. Like if you think back to Bee's entrance into the show, she was a victim of domestic violence for a long time. And so I think, I think that's a really good comment, actually, that she created a kind of safe place for everybody. So when they came to me, which I touched on in the Q&A, when they said, look, we're thinking of giving the character dementia, there was a little part of me that was really like, oh, shit, really? Because she is like the mum, and that's going to be like, wow, where's the soft place to land for the other characters? But as it turned out, which I didn't predict, it meant the other characters were able to step up. So you see Boomer really grow up. You see a side to Kaz. Some of the most beautiful stuff that I did with Tammy was the stuff when she goes, oh, my grandma had a memory box, and it was beautiful, all that. And that meant that, so one crisis for one character created all this other stuff. It's like a ripple effect in all the other characters, which was actually, I hadn't anticipated that would happen. You know, I thought, oh, it's all about me, I don't want to get dementia because that means I'll die, I'll be out of the series, I need to pay my mortgage, I've got 2 daughters who are really expensive, teenage girls, and then have you got teenage kids? They just want to buy everything. So it was like on one level I was like, oh, I don't want to have dementia. Anyway.
When did they... I always want, sometimes, I know a lot of us go back and rewatch things over and over again, and sometimes I think we see things that are accurate, and then we probably start making stuff up, right, to justify.
Do you know what, honey? We do as well.
You know, so I like went back and I thought, like, do we see her getting any? Are there any signs of dementia before season 6? And I was trying to figure that out. So that was one of my questions.
Maybe in 5.
That's what I
think
thought,
with
too.
that cop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
she
That's
was.
what I thought.
Her ability to kind of pick up on stuff was a bit blunted. Her fear of Sonia, the paranoia.
Exactly.
So they did that deliberately because they wanted it to be ambiguous. It was like, is Liz losing her mind, or is she so stressed that she's having a breakdown? And as it turned out, it was the dementia, but it was also she's having a breakdown. Exactly, a little bit of both. So yeah, good point, because it's were there and the alcoholism.
Right.
Is it which is the alcohol? The dementia that's related to alcoholism. Is it Lewy bodies disease? I think it might be Lewy bodies. There's one of them that's directly related to alcoholism. So it affects a part of the brain that, is connected. So there's that in the mix as well. And as I said, they were always really deliberately vague about what type of dementia she had. But, interesting. Yeah, I think there were moments.
Okay. Yeah.
Crazy.
So did you have any say on like the direction your character got to take for any part of it with the writers or any sort of collaboration?
Sometimes you do, darling. Sometimes you, not with overriding stories, but with details you can affect a bit of change. You can go into the room and say to them, I know you've written this scene this way, but it just doesn't feel right. Can we, mix it up? And sometimes you would put what I found with the writing department, and this is rare in a lot of shows, you get your script and that's it. You do not get a chance to change it. And so it was a luxury to be able to say, and so I would go away because I'm thinking, if someone's really stressed and super, super busy, the last thing they want is someone to come in with a problem. So I would come in with a problem, but I always had a solution. So I'd say, I think there's something missing here. Do you want to have a look at this? Because this is... And I have a real interest in writing. So at the moment, I'm also writing a television series that's set in Palm Springs. So after we finish this, Tammy and I are going up to Palm Springs for a few days. Oh, cool. Just to do a bit of research, just to give you a little bit of personal information. But yeah, so that's, for me, I've always really enjoyed the notion of, for me, it's about detail. Character detail, like what is the thing? Is that right for Liz? That's a bit general, that's not really her. Sometimes you would come back to a new season and a new writer would have done the first episode and they have no idea of the character's voice. And you get this script and go, what? Liz sounds like a woman in her 70s. That's not Liz. And so you'd have to go, hey guys, I get the idea, but can she say this? Instead of wow, 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 which sounds like a lady living in the 1950s or something. You know what I mean? So that could happen sometimes. But yeah, the writing, it's interesting. You can make small changes. Yeah, but there were some things that we could kind of shoot at, and sometimes they were receptive and other times it's like, nah. Because they've got so much to do. So many characters. And as you were saying, they're so incredibly woven, like... You go back and look at all those stories, you're thinking, shit. And the twists and turns. Like we sit there at the beginning of a season and get the producer and the head writer tell us what's going to happen in the season. The big story arcs, and you're like, what? What happens? They go, where? And then what? How? And you're like... And so when you watch it back, because you only are there the days you're filming your bit, So you come in and go out of the set and see everyone go hi, but you only exist in your little bubble, apart from the read-throughs at the beginning of each 2 weeks. It takes 2 weeks to film, 3 weeks we film 2 episodes over 3.5 weeks. So at the beginning of that period, we sit round like this, huge cast table reading, so we all know what's happening in those 2 eps. And then, and then you shoot it, and then when you watch it back, when it goes to air, and sometimes they send you everything early, so you get to know in case fans come up and go, oh, that episode, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen it. But you're really surprised, and you go, oh my God, I didn't know that happened to bloody Bridget. Oh my God, I forgot that happened to Kaz. You know, it's really so detailed. Any more questions?
So,
Yes.
personally, you, Celia, not
Me,
Liz,
Celia,
but you,
yes.
Celia.
Yep.
So, it seems like everybody's just so down to earth, like you're normal people, which, you know, a lot of times you meet celebrities. Well,
Yeah,
not now.
yeah.
You also are actors, but I don't really think you're acting. But what literally keeps you grounded, keeps you to...
Do you know, I can't really answer that. I think it is just who we are.
Okay.
And I don't know that there is anything that keeps us there. I think it's just how we are. I think the system in Australia might be different to here. I think Australia has celebrities, but it doesn't have a culture of celebrity, like the Kardashians. And I mean, you guys have... This industry is enormous in this country. And LA, you know, it's been here for a little while, and I had a meeting with a writing agent and a casting agent yesterday, just chatting about stuff. And, you know, they both were saying it's so enormous here, and it's extremely competitive, and there's a lot riding on, there's a lot of stress, a lot of tension. I don't think it's quite the same in Australia. And I think by nature we're a bit more, we sit back a bit. We're probably more like the English than we are like Americans, I think.
Agreed.
But I do
Not
think
all Americans. I mean,
no,
some
no,
Americans.
there's nothing. No, please don't.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But I really would hate to think that I'm making a comment that. But I do think there's a.
No, I agree.
There's
I
a
agree.
laconic. The word laconic is a really good description of Australians, which is a sort of laid back, a little bit cynical. A little bit like, oh, yeah, all right, show me what you can do. You know what I mean? And we don't give praise easily. And we have what's called a tall poppy syndrome. Have you guys, you probably haven't even heard of that, right?
No idea.
Which is a concept that don't get above your stations, don't get too big for your boots. Do you know those phrases?
Yeah.
That's very typical of Australia. So anyone who reaches a level of whatever, when they're with their friends, they're very conscious to just be normal. You know, they don't like to talk too much about, oh, yeah, I've got this thing and it's wah-wah. Do you know what? They don't self-aggrandise a lot. So I think, in answer to the question, I think it's who we are. I don't know that we're conscious of it. Does that make sense? I don't think we do anything that makes us that way.
Which makes it even better, to be
Maybe,
honest.
yeah.
It
And I
just
think
makes
it's
it
such
genuine.
a small industry. There as well, you're really, really grateful for the work that you get.
Okay.
So everybody is conscious of that, and there's egos, but there's not a lot of big egos. Maybe there are here, I don't know, but I think the culture of celebrity is much more.
I don't think.
I always joke that Wentworth's like ruined me for other television.
Has
Like,
it?
I mean,
Right.
the quality,
It really
like I
has.
don't like. I've stopped. I used to watch a bunch of shows like
Yeah.
now. I'm so picky, and a lot of times I go
Yeah.
back to Wentworth, and it's just. I feel like I can always find something new, but the acting is
Yeah,
just
well,
so
see,
incredible. I mean, everybody. It's,
I think you're
how
right.
kind you guys are, you know, and it's like
that's.
I went to New Jersey too, and everybody's so amazing and
Yeah.
giving of their time, and they're
Yeah.
warm, and there's just
And that's
nothing
how
like
they
it.
are on set.
Yeah.
And I mean, for a show that's as gruesome and depressing as ours can be, there is a lot of joy on set and behind scenes. You know, sometimes, you know, there are days when you know, like with the day where Katrina's character had to euthanize Liz, and you take yourself away in between beats and they're setting up camera shots and you keep in the zone and stuff. But there are certainly days when the workload is lighter emotionally, where there's so much camaraderie. And I'm really, one of the things that I took away from the job, it's going to sound really random, but as a female actor of a certain age, I was always really struck by the respect and the kind of tenderness of the young male crew. who were often in those cells with us at really close range. You're talking about the camera here, and you've got a boom operator, and sometimes they're young guys and the clapper loader, and they're just sitting right. So say you're in a scene with this lovely lady's name, I've forgotten, and there's a person down here, the camera's on you, and there's a boom, there's a mic under here, and they're so close in those scenes with you. They're so respectful and kind and still, and then after you shoot sometimes full-on emotional scenes, and they'd say, wow, that was really, and they're a bit teary, and it's like, oh, wow. And that's not, you know, when you've done a good job. When the crew get moved or laugh or whatever, because they sit there for hours filming all day. All day, they're there from...
And that's before it's edited. I can imagine how the editing feels with all the music and everything.
Exactly, and then there's a whole other layer that happens. Yeah, so it's an interesting journey. I've forgotten, what was the question? I forgot. More questions, please. Some of you are too quiet, so I need some stuff from here.
What's the funniest thing that's happened on set?
The funniest thing? My God, there's been so many. Oh, my God. Oh, heck, you put me on the spot. I'll have to get back to that. I'll think about it. Yeah, so we don't waste any time. But
What's your, over the 7 seasons that you were with Wentworth, what is your absolute favourite scene that you have shot?
Wow. I think the scene with Katrina and Burma when Liz is in the hospital bed. There's stuff with Danielle I really loved. There was a scene with Danielle's character in maybe season 2, the beginning of season 2 or 3, where she's starting to use drugs and Liz comes into the cell. Do you guys remember that? And goes, stop it. You got to find something to get up for every day. That was a really...
Beginning of 2.
Beginning of 2, that was a really powerful thing. A beautiful scene with Nicole that I loved. I think it was season 3, when Frankie comes in and says, oh, I've been really bad. Like she has a kind of big crisis of conscience, and Liz goes, oh, no, you're ready to go out. And all that stuff was really good. There's so many. There's so many, really. It's such a big... What about you? What are your favourite scenes?
All of them.
Yours. Come on, speak up. I love your watch, by the way. Pink.
I actually do have a question, though.
Yeah, perfect. Go for
We
it.
talk about how everybody was so friendly and all that. Did you ever have any arguments with anyone?
Not really. No. I didn't. Maybe other people did. Look, sometimes you would have to negotiate, but you're professional and you don't really there are certainly personalities that get on better with other personalities. I'm one of 7, big family, a lot of sisters. I tend to get on with everybody. Just, I get on with everybody. But there are some people who tend to have not favourites, but no, there were never any arguments. Well, nothing that I was ever witness to. And if there were, I think actually, if anything, there were probably arguments with the producers and the writers. Some of the actors would get very frustrated about, as you were saying, where their character is going. So sometimes there might have been, I don't know if they were arguments though, they might have been slightly heated. Heated conversations if I'm going to be specific. Right. Good question though. But we're pretty chill. I mean, I think the vibe of the women, apart from those incredible alliances and those sort of hatreds of certain characters, that everyone was pretty chill because it was hard work. So you get in there, you do your job. Tammy and I I've known her since All Saints, and Libby as well, a long time ago. But Tammy and I, because we both had kids in Sydney and we were filming in Melbourne, we forged a really strong alliance. And after big scenes, we'd ring each other and I'd say, oh, can I come around for a cup? And she'd go, yep, sure, come on. We called each other Shazza. It's our nicknames for each other. So I'm Shazza and she's Shazza. So stupid. Shazza, I know Shazza, right, Shazza. Anyway, so we do this, so we look after each other a bit. So there was a lot of that. But arguments, I think, were few and far between, in my experience. But you might get a very different answer from some of the other. Anything else? Okay, so I was asking what were your favourite scenes?
I have a question.
Oh, good. Yeah, come on.
Who are you most like as far as the characters on Wentworth?
Oh, Liz. I'm her, she's me. I mean, it's not really a transformative character, I'd have to say. It's just me, I think.
But you don't have any of those issues.
No. No, I don't. But if you look at issues, if you look at the core of any of those things, they're universal themes. Self-loathing, insecurity, addiction, I mean, everybody struggles with something in their lives, whether it's alcohol, sex, eating too much, not eating enough, addicted to exercise, addicted to feeling bad. You know, I think so. I think, I didn't have those issues, but I certainly, one of the parallels that was very strong in my life was that Liz at different points was really heartbroken about her kids, and that stuff was great for me because I had my girls in Sydney. You know what I mean? I'm getting super hot. Landing, is anyone else hot?
I don't know.
Is it just me? I think it's just me. I'm menopausal. Sorry. It's a group of ladies. It's one guy. I just have to deal with it. I'm having a hot fucking flash. Goodness me. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, darling. Yes. Anything else?
I have a question about the physicality one. I mean, I think that I speak for everybody when I know that those last 15 minutes of this season, I sobbed. I was like in my closet sobbing.
Yeah.
My dog was dying at the time too, and so
darling,
it was
I'm
that,
so
and all sorts of other things. So I was, I think, a lot of it, but I was
Yeah.
It was so moving. So thank you for making us feel that.
Thank you for
special.
feeling it. Thank you, darling.
One of the things that I was always so marveled was the physical transformation that we saw happen too after you were diagnosed, just sort of the way that you brought to the physicality, and I'm sure some of the makeup too, but I was really curious about how that sort of took shape, because you're so vibrant and young.
Well, no, it's a really good question. For me, it was like really subtle. I thought one of the things I'd noticed in the research I'd done, there's a shuffling thing. I don't know if you guys know much about dementia, but some people, and it depends on how advanced the condition is, there's a shuffling. And Liz wasn't that serious, but I remember just a kind of slightly tentative, like more tentative. So it did stuff to your physicality, and she was slower and kind of softer, I think, just not as assured. So there were things, and it's a weird thing because it's like you personalise it. Even though there are definitely symptoms and characteristics that belong to that disease, there's a point where you actually have to make it your own. And so just that sense of looking off into the distance slightly and not quite knowing where am I in this moment. You know, that sort of stuff, being conscious of, this is an opportunity where, and I mean, I found that stuff really hard, particularly in the beginning of Seven, like when she's chatting to Kaz and stuff, and you go, who's Mari? Who's Mari again? Like all those moments. There weren't that many, but they were like, my God, she's really starting to lose it.
What's your personal opinion on what Boomer did? Do you think someone should be
really good question
charged with something like that? Or is that...
Look, in my experience, I've witnessed a couple of loved ones pass away, and in Australia, it's probably similar here, in the hospice system, which is palliative care, where people, if they're not in a nursing home or at home, and they're in a hospital system, there tends to be a kind of increasing of pain relief, i.e. morphine, which compromises the breathing and it hastens the dying process. So in a weird way, I kind of think it's happening anyway. You know what I'm saying? In end-of-life care, the predominant thing is to take away pain, to keep people comfortable so they're not agitated, because if they're in high pain they can break through and get agitated and whatever. So in some respects I think it already exists, but I do think people should have the right to make their own decision. And I don't know how you legalise that. I don't know how you make it so it's not an issue that it's litigious and people are suing. And I mean, I don't know how you do that. How do you ascertain that the person is lucid enough, they are of sound mind to sign this thing with various attorneys present? Maybe you could do all that. And then how do you choose to die? You know, I spoke to a woman recently who said her father, in fact it was a Qantas airline steward in Sydney, and she watches the show and she said, my father took his own life. He was diagnosed with 4th stage lung cancer. And she said, but it was really, really awful because it didn't work the first time, and so it opens up a lot of, it's a huge debate, but I personally believe your body, your choice. Same with lots of other issues, with women's issues and things. I'm sure that's not and people have religious constructs around that, and that's absolutely their choice. But in my mind, I think ultimately it's your deal with your God or your Buddha or your if you're Hindu, your Shiva, or you know what I mean? So I think, yeah. But I personally understand why Liz made that decision, because her quality of life was so compromised. And she had been saying to Boomer for a long time, hey, help. And poor old Boomer's like, oh, she just run the other way, didn't she? She's just out of there as quick as she could. Yeah, so it's a big question. Your thoughts?
Yeah,
Are you...
Logie Award, definitely.
Logie,
Logie,
yes.
sorry.
Wouldn't that be nice? I don't think I'm even going to be in the mix.
You deserve to win.
Well, thank you very
No,
much, but I
no
think what
one
happens
else.
is when you leave a show, the producers sort of think, oh, do we give Celia attention? Do we put her up for an award, or do we focus on the new cast and the remaining cast? So, but I've loved doing it. It's been amazing. So more questions? More questions? Oh, you've got a question?
No.
2 minutes? Shit, we haven't done the thing. Haven't we got to do selfies?
Yes.
Quick, and sign.
Yes.
Oh my God, these things are always too fast.
I feel like they need to be just a little bit longer.
I agree, like 40 minutes. You didn't have a
40,
question?
40, yeah.
I was just going to say that I really enjoyed some of your funny moments. That
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
you were
hilarious.
the more the comedian to the.
Most of my
lines.
stuff prior to Lizzie was comedy.
Yeah. Oh,
And
really?
I love it. Oh, I do characters all the
Oh.
time. I do stupid voices.
Oh yeah, I
and-
know. Last time you were saying you were done.
Yes. All the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but I
that's
really
funny
do.
you picked up on that, because it's so it was interesting for me. This job was huge in that it was the first chance I had to explore drama, like really big, high stakes, vulnerable stuff. But I have a theory, I don't know if you agree with me, but most actors who can do comedy can do drama. But most actors who can do drama can't necessarily do comedy.
No, that's
And I don't know what that's about. I think it's a truth thing.
You guys get audio?
We haven't done anything. We've talked. Quick!
I said sign and talk. Yeah, let's do
So
some
how about I
autographs
do
and stuff.
selfies?
I just want to
Okay.
make sure that
Come back and
whoever
sign.
has
Okay.
a photo
Get
makes
yourself
it. Don't
sorted.
worry about it. There's still a line. It'll be fine, but we got to get you guys who have snapmy photos out of here.
You're gonna be good.
We're fine. We've got a line there. We're good.
Sorry.
But that's why I'm in here to tell everybody. Let's
You
go.
guys have the most beautiful hair. You've got it too. Oh, here. Hi, darling.
So,
Thank
you
you.
can
Coming back round to you. Where are you? Where's you? Oh, you're you.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you. Gorgeous.
Hey.
Oh, it's a pleasure, darling. Thank you guys so much for coming.
But anyway, I was going to finish, and then Boomer says, well, something about Sonia, and Liz says, Sonia's dead, you fat cow.
My the funniest one was when we were gonna have sex with that guy. Boomer comes in and says, "You're gonna get whatever," and you went, "That's great, love." That was my
I don't
favorite.
remember that. What was that?
Do you remember that Boomer came in and said you were gonna get, the guy?
Oh, the conjugal.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
You had your nightgown on. You went, "That's great, love."
Just here, darling. What's your name again?
Yvette and Jessica.
Why the double T?
Everybody was
Wow,
just
you're amazing.
Yep.
Nobody
Just
ever
here?
spelled it
I've got to
right.
do it now. You're getting libbies. So should I do it here?
Sure.
You take up as much room as you want.
Yvette.
You guys actually also store this on your right.
My eyes are like,
Thank you.
my eyes are like
You're good.
partially closed. Mind if I read you real quick?
This one.
Awesome. Oh, that was a
Thank
good
you,
one.
thank you
I
so
know.
much. Thank you.
Pleasure.
I forgot me.
Oh, darling, I'm so sorry.
I was going to ask her real quick.